Thank you all for having us here tonight. I think, unless, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the first project that on the web that I started with Lisa Kudrow and Don Roos. It's called Web Therapy. If you're not familiar with it, I brought a little teaser, sizzle, little introduction or reminder that maybe we can play right now.
Many of the most powerful and respected names in Hollywood all have one thing in common.
Don't tell me what I'm doing.
They picked the wrong therapist.
There is no real moral center in this woman, and she's uninteresting.
Oh, it's just interesting to me that you look at me and I don't look like someone who would be on camera.
I remember you.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? You don't? Nothing, huh?
You're a horrible, horrible woman!
The female receptor has 2 holes, and the male has 2 prongs.
Web Therapy.
Two prongs.
Yes, 2.
And your father taught you this.
So that's just a little bit of a reminder of some of the people over the last, we've done about 8 web seasons online, and we were lucky enough in the last couple of years to be able to reformat the show and allow it to be licensed to Showtime, and have had 2 successful seasons on Showtime. Really, the beginnings of Web Therapy, we were a company, Lisa Kudrow and I, not setting out to do web content. People were asking us if we would do a web series. We weren't particularly looking to get into that arena, but Lisa couldn't stop thinking about it. She kept thinking, wouldn't it be great if rather than cutting up a sitcom into little pieces and trying to get people on the internet to watch it during their breaks, if the very concept, if the very premise lent itself and was indigenous to the web. And she couldn't let it go. She kept saying, remember, you know, I keep thinking about that web idea. What if the worst woman in the world who went to Wharton School of Business and thought she would come up with a funny model for a business, she becomes an online therapist who gives 3-minute sessions and charges money for it on PayPal and has absolutely 0 credentials and is the biggest narcissist on the planet and doesn't believe in addiction or pain or dreams or feelings. And she was your therapist. I was like, sounds hilarious. And she's like, who would be the people who would go to someone like that? And then it started to get funny. And luckily, around that time, Lexus was starting a new broadband channel called L Studio. And we got a call serendipitously by them saying, you know, we love what you guys do. We had just done a show called The Comeback for HBO. We love your sensibility. They were big fans of Lisa's. And here's where it started. It began with the needs of the creative fulfilling the need of a digital platform. They said, we want to let you play. We just want you to play in our sandbox. And we thought, all right, as long as we can do what we want and it doesn't get in the way of you doing what you want, then I don't see a problem. And that's literally how it worked. We had been doing television pilots and movies and series, and we continue to do that for a long time. But there's always someone else, really, who is sort of pulling the strings and sometimes restricting the creative process. What happened with Web Therapy is we were given so much creative freedom. It really felt like we were allowed to play. And we started this new model for creating a series where we would literally, in these 3 or 4 minute chat sessions, get to invite guest cast whom we knew to come and improvise with us and tell these really funny stories of this horrible, horrible woman. And as the time went on, people would see it online and they would become fans. And literally, we cast our show out of people we would bump into at parties who were like, I love that web show you do. We're like, great, you want to do one? Until finally Meryl Streep ran into Lisa, and we all went to college at the same place, and she said, I love that Web Therapy show. And Lisa was like, you want to do one? And she did. And we shot with Meryl for half of a day, and she was absolutely wonderful. And it slowly but surely, it began to become creatively something that was not only funny and fun and something we were very passionate about, but something that allowed us to have a voice on a digital platform that allowed a brand to expand what they normally were seen for. And, you know, again, it's about two different agendas coming together. And I think at the time that we started, the web was a little bit like the Wild Wild West. We call it the Wild Wild Web. And we felt like, wow, it's like no one is doing this. Why don't we just do more and invite more talent here, and we'll shoot this and we'll put it on L Studio. And as time went on, Showtime came to us and they were like, we kind of love your webisodes. What if you did them as a half hour? And we're like, okay. And we sort of created a new model to do new media, digital content licensed for cable television, which was very exciting for us because we were able to literally become a multi-platform show. And again, continue to have creative control and creative freedom and invite cast members who we normally would not do this kind of thing, who have had a great time shooting with us. And we just finished shooting our 9th and 10th web seasons, and we're just starting to put together the half hours for a 3rd season on Showtime with Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal and Steve Carell, and again, all people who came to us who wanted to be a part of the show and who we shot out in half of a day and had a great time doing it. But this was the first year that we also started talking to brands and started talking about what are the ways in which we can integrate and expose brands on web therapy in an organic way, in a way that feels absolutely indigenous to what we're talking about, so it doesn't feel like a commercial. And what we learned was that's exactly what the brands wanted also. What our needs were and what our agenda was the same as theirs. And we started to talk about how Skype could become, very obviously, because the show literally takes place between 2 web windows, how Skype could become a partner in a very organic way. Around the same time, about a year ago, Jane Lynch, who had done the first season of Web Therapy, called us up. I've been a friend of hers for a very long time, and our comedic sensibility has been the same. She says, I've seen something that reminds me of web therapy, reminds me of the kind of comedy you guys love. And I've just fallen in love with this group of people who have put together this hilarious web show called Dropping the Soap. And so she introduced me to a bunch of content that nobody had seen before, and it was hilarious. Lisa watched it, Don watched it, I watched it. And together, we joined forces and we worked with the creative team behind Dropping the Soap for exactly the same reason. What they did with their creativity, these actors, writers, producers, what they've created with so little was an unbelievable world that is so funny and has such an unbelievably ripe landscape for integration that we were like, this is a no-brainer. We have to get involved, and we're going to work together with them to create something that is going to be the next new thing on the web. So if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you to the co-creators of Dropping the Soap, Paul Witten, Katie Mines, and Mandy Fabian.
Well, these are nice.
Right? These are so cozy. I should have been sitting down the whole time.
Good night.
Jane has been a fan of theirs for a very long time. Has worked with you guys and worked with us as well. And Jane really wanted us to take a look at this. And over the course of the year, we have collaborated on ways to not only integrate Jane into the show, but also to find new ways to tell the story of the demise of the soap on the web by actually being self-referential about what's happening to soaps. It felt like the perfect timing. And maybe you can talk a little bit about where the idea came from, how you guys made it.
Well, it was my idea, and I came to my producing partner, Kate, and I said, you know, I have this idea for behind the scenes of a soap opera, and I think it could be really fun. Maybe we'll start a web series. This seems to be such an exciting new frontier, and I kind of want to be in on it because there's so many opportunities that we have in front of us. She was game, and we approached Mandy and talked to her about writing it, and we all just kind of had a love fest and decided it was such a great marriage. I mean, not in a kinky way. Well, yeah.
That too.
Sometimes.
Maybe. We're not opposed, is what we're saying. But
It is called dropping.
If there's a brand for that, we're open.
right. But it was such a great marriage for the three of us. We really enjoyed creating together, and I got an email from Jane, who I knew, And she asked for a link to some of the content we had shot, which we have a little bit of content that we've already shot, and I think we'll be showing you some of it. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought, oh, great, here's a link. And then I get an email from this gentleman who I had admired since a movie he wrote and starred in called All Over the Guy, and saying, Lisa Kudrow, Dawn Roos, myself, and Jane, we're all on board. We love this show, and let's meet. And, you know, pinch me.
But how long did it take you guys to create the content that you have shot already?
I guess we shot it over the course of a year, I would say, because it was really a labor of love, and when we could do it, we did it.
This is like the whole labor of love thing is part of what I think is so exciting about the web. You wind up working with talent that are doing it because they absolutely have fallen in love with the concept.
Yeah.
They're talented people who are controlling a little bit of the creative inspiration. And then what you guys created was so funny. If we can roll the clip of the reel about it, you guys will get a little sense of what they did. Or we'll act it out.
Thank you all for joining me. I'm Olivia Vanderstein. I'm the head of this network. Television is changing, and colliding lives will be changing with it. You're gonna have to work your pretty little faces harder than you've ever worked them before, and that goes double for the fat ones and the ugly ones, and you know who you are.
Olivia and Lindsay can't fire us. We're a hot love triangle.
Listen to me. Olivia Vanderstein is an angry woman. Laughed all the way through Sophie's Choice. I mean it. She's hard.
So I've hired Lindsay to be your new executive producer, and in spite of her bad haircut, I expect great things.
Colliding Lives will be rebranding.
I simply will not do product placement. They are actors, not sideshow monkeys.
Having Veronica die so suddenly would be too traumatic for our loyal audience.
You were voted off, fair and square.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
94%, that's great.
How is this show still on the air?
Millions of people watch soap operas, Olivia.
Millions of people still eat gluten.
I was just told to make you and Kit the next Luke and Laura.
Which makes my bowels clench.
How's my little Luke and Laura?
We're just laughing and sharing. Listen to me, you chubby little muppet. I am colliding lives. It might as well be called colliding Julians. That is how important I am to this show.
If they wanted to cut me from the show, you'd have to write that, right?
Yeah, I guess. I hate Kit so much. I wish there was a way I could get back at her without her knowing about it.
People are really loving the circus freak storyline. Thank you, Julian.
Oh, you're welcome.
Tell you what the public doesn't want to see is Julian Drake banging Santa.
Open wide Santa and get ready for some soap opera.
Hey, Mr. Drake.
Hey, Frank.
Those poor people are going to get fired. Take pictures. I suppose we could move the show to the internet.
The internet? Like porn?
Oh, for God's sake, do something. What are the other shows doing?
I think I'm playing your son.
I like my chicken white. I want my TV dark.
Somebody please help me!
This is going to be so much fun.
I'll let these guys speak to sort of the inspiration behind it, but one of the things that I think is so exciting about it is this opportunity to tell a story within a story, to tell the actual story of the soap opera, as well as the story of those people making that soap opera, and also to talk about how the move to the internet, as though it's the worst thing that can happen to soaps, and the dependence on branding as part of the show is an amazing opportunity to sort of allow these characters to embrace products in a way that is both self-referential but also actually quite real. Did you guys think about that right from the beginning, or was
Not at all.
Perfect?
At first, yeah, right.
You hate it, right?
At first, it was just like, oh my God, soap opera, we can talk about evil twins. You know, that was the excitement creatively. But, and that just lends itself to such great, rich, fun, you know, you have these evil people doing these dramatic things for the fake soap opera where we get to very lovingly, every episode starts with like a, you know, the colliding lives, a little part of the soap opera that all these people are on. And we all, you know, grew up watching soaps and love soaps, and with what was happening to soap operas, we sort of wanted to make an homage to them while also sort of poking fun at how silly they are, but very subtly. And then to have these characters that are so, without a moral compass, I think is fair to say, behind the scenes, there were so many rich opportunities for storylines, but also to kind of just make fun of television in general and what's happening to the industry. Like in our particular show, the soap operas are all kind of circling the drain and struggling for numbers, so we get to play with everything that's happening with the internet and reality television, and the executive producers kind of trying to implement all of those things into the show. So it's very current. It has a very sort of, it's a very modern
now,
thing.
because I don't know if you know, but Prospect Park recently purchased All My Children and One Life to Live. So they're in production, I believe, now as we speak. And they're going to do 4 half-hour shows a week on the internet. So that just happened, and that's kind of exciting. I think that starts in April, but man, there's fans for that.
Yeah.
They're rabid, they want it.
Yeah.
So.
And then because they're all actors and they're just complete whores, pardon me, for their careers, it's, they all want a big ad campaign. They all want to be the next reality show star. Everything for fame. So that also lends itself to a bunch of fun opportunities to sort of see what these people are willing to do for money. It wouldn't be something you'd have to put on it because it's just organic to who they are, which is horrible.
Yeah, some of them are truly evil.
Yeah.
And both twins. Yeah, right. No, the other thing I love is that there's an opportunity here. They've shot about half of the show, half of a series, and the other half of the series is still sort of open. We talked about the storylines, but also talked about all these unbelievable, rich, recurring players that could be mined from the repertoire of actors who love to do this kind of thing, who have done web therapy. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity to bring in not only great improvisational actors and comedic actors, but celebrities who can play sort of recurring roles either within the show, within Colliding Lives, or in the fabric of, like, James playing this network.
Head of the network.
Executive.
Yeah. Head of the network.
So a lot of that stuff is going to be open and allows this to become a partnership with the brand or brands, as well as the other performers who collaborate.
And it's
with us.
actually exciting to see who kind of, when you float it to them, says, yeah, let me know.
Yeah.
Because people are really open to be a part of this.
Yeah.
To do a spot on a web show, as you saw with web therapy, and I'm sure you've seen with the tons of people that you've gotten to come in for a day and show up on your set and work for, I'm sure, not a lot of money.
Right.
And that's what's so great about it, too. Like Dan had said earlier, when Meryl Streep came, she was there for half a day. So you can get someone big in, and for 6 hours of their time, you can get a major celebrity to endorse a brand, basically.
Right. Well, exactly. But also, what the opportunity for them is always to try to, in almost every case, especially with web therapy, you've got actors who are always trying to play something that they normally don't get to play. So a lot of times they'll come to you and say, like, I would love to play, on web therapy, we often get somebody who comes to us and it's like, I'm dying to play somebody who's completely crazy, has agoraphobia, and they have a wig. And Lily Tomlin, when she came in to do web therapy, she had 6 different wigs, sock puppets. I mean, it was like a playground. And I think that this show lends itself to allowing the collaboration to not just be with the brands, but to be with the talent.
Well, and you're right, because I actually, I had done a pilot with Monica Potter. I don't know if you guys watch Parenthood, but she's this beautiful blonde on Parenthood. And I told her about dropping the soap, and she's a fan, and I said, would you come and do it? And she's like, oh my God, I'm there in a second. She's like, but I want to be the fat craft service lady. Not kidding. So she wants to wear a fat suit and come in, this beautiful Monica Potter, and be the fat craft service woman who's really picky about who eats what. And we're like, oh my God, are you kidding? Done.
Yeah.
And, we've learned how to shoot efficiently because we've often been creating these shows with far fewer resources than we wish we had. And we figure out ways to cross-board and shoot an actor out in 8 hours, 5 or 6 different scenes that can play out for the whole season. So it's a great way to bring a recurring character into the show who normally isn't really, they're not in it necessarily to sell a brand. They're not in it necessarily because they've been dying to do a web show. It's because they like the creative, They love the passion of the people behind it, and they think it's funny. End of the day, Lisa, she turned to me and she just said, we should just do it because it's funny. And I think it's that simple.
That's great. Sorry.
We should just do it because it's funny. And I think a lot of people, funny is a hard thing to go after.
That's one of the things I really like about working with web stuff specifically is that it's usually shorter. I mean, our show's, anywhere between 6 and 10 minutes depending, but you can kind of combine the wonderful world of Funny or Die sketch comedy and short form stuff with stuff that's actually scripted and has storylines that you find yourself, even though you're laughing all the way through, you care about. So at the end of the 2 minutes of Colliding Lives or whatever it happens to be, at the beginning you see the soap opera, and at the end there's always a cliffhanger like in a real soap opera. So you're also kind of wondering what happens in the soap opera, and at the end of every episode there's a cliffhanger. So it's a story that you're actually following, but you have this sort of immediate short attention span satisfaction of sketch comedy and short form entertainment. And a lot of shows, they would actually probably do better if they only had 10 minutes, I'm sure, It's just easier to, it's just a...
Which ones?
Yeah.
Well, I know, I was like,
List
so
them
basically pooping on everyone's television shows.
Yeah.
They're all horrible. No, it's just great to have that, like the 8 to 10 minute format's a lot of fun, and you can really pack it with everything that's great and then leave them wanting more. And that's what's, and also I think in terms of developing new audience, it's great because who doesn't have 10 minutes to try to get hooked on a show and then dip in every time they have 10 minutes as opposed to committing to half hour. It's what I know. You went dirty with that.
I did.
Who doesn't have 10 minutes?
No, who doesn't dip in when they have 10 minutes?
I think you're bringing up another point, which is true, which is like nowadays, and luckily Web Therapy is an example of it, but so is Burning Love, and a lot of these shows are getting the benefit of being able to adapt to different platforms. That Web Therapy started out as these 3-minute webisodes, and then we wound up being allowed to create a 30-minute version of it. And the fact that Burning Love started out as webisodes and has been able to expand to a half-hour format. I think this kind of show, especially because the characters are a show within a show, you have the opportunity to play the web show of just the soap opera, you have the ability to play a longer format of the show within the show, and then you have the ability to eventually create a longer format out of it. And I think...
Well, we had actually gotten a little seed money in the very beginning to shoot the pilot. I mean, very little, but as an honorary, kind of gesture, we wanted to do some fake commercials for them. So we shot some fake commercials with wind machines and like
coming out of the water.
Yeah, and like ridiculous.
It was for a hair product, and we did them with wet hair.
Yeah.
You see, this is the thing. Like, we're always obsessed at Web Therapy. We're like, if we're going to do it, it's going to have to be organic to something Fiona would use or say, or it's going to seem like a commercial. Well, on Dropping the Soap, these characters are such whores in a way.
We are all like literally
in a good way,
dying
in the best way though. Like that's why I think there's so much comedic opportunity to see people like in a love scene, in a breakfast morning love scene, where Honey Nut Cheerios winds up in the bedroom with them. Or Ritz crackers. It's like, why would you ever?
We're not kidding.
It never.
Honey Nut.
Exactly. No, it's like we now have an opportunity to play around with the most, sometimes, inorganic ways of talking about brands and a group of people who are like, we can make that work. Let's do it.
Well, and there's Brandon from Branding, one of our characters.
One of the characters is Brandon from Branding.
That will help integrate.
It's like, why are tires not organic to a soap opera?
Right.
They are.
They are. Here's how.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. The writers are like, here's how.
Right.
Because.
I work at an auto body shop when I'm not shooting.
Right.
So.
And my twin.
Yes, I'm the evil one.
Exactly.
My nice twin.
There's also this fun thing of how soap operas are so about their storylines and which characters live, and if the great thing about soaps is somebody could die and then the very next day they're either replaced by a brand new actor, you're supposed to accept that they're playing the same character, or they just come back to life because the soap said they did. And we would love to interact with viewers, take polls and have them make suggestions for storylines and things and kind of see how that works out. And we had an idea, one thing of like, we could play a game and have like Find the Cholula, so that in our entire webisode there's like a Cholula bottle somewhere in either the soap opera or the behind the scenes of the soap opera, and the viewers get to find the Cholula, and that's just something they get to do. So we're excited about interacting with our audience as well.
Yeah, the social media.
And it's
really
fun
lends
because
itself.
I know 30 Rock did that a lot. You
Yeah.
know, where I think they integrated it really beautifully and in a way that didn't make we as viewers feel like you're pandering.
Yeah,
it was
right.
so clearly with the tongue in the cheek that you were like, you know what, I like that Snapple and I like their sense of humor.
And here's why. Right to camera.
Yeah.
No, I think that our viewers are hip to it. And I think the more we write to it and laugh with them as opposed to sort of laughing at them and saying like, here's what we have to do. I think that telling the story of branding, telling the story of integration and of the web and of actors who were on the soap opera and what's the demise of the soap and how it winds up on the web. We also want to create Twitter, Twitter accounts for each of the characters on the show and let audiences follow the story even when the show's not on. I think there's a real opportunity to sort of multi-platform all the characters.
And also, like, have conversations with audience. I mean, I know you do this on Scandal. Like,
yeah.
Have conversations with people while the show is airing, like.
Yeah, that was something that on Scandal, the cast live tweets during every show, which is very hard to do while you're watching, but it's incredibly exciting because you think of the time when you used to watch a show and imagine writing a fan letter or asking a question of an actor and sending it in the mail and sending it to the studio out there in Hollywood and waiting for 3 months to hope to God you get a response. The notion of being able to interact and converse with either the characters or the actors who play those characters immediately and in the moment is something that's so exciting. And it has actually, I think, helped make Scandal on television a success. We do the same thing on Web Therapy. I think the web shows are doing it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I do it as a viewer. Oh, sorry.
You do it as a viewer?
I do it as a viewer.
I know, you tweeted me. Inappropriately, by the way. Can you stop?
It was very inappropriate.
Does anybody have any questions about anything?
This is H&M.
I was just going to say, this is from Marshall.
This is not comfortable at all.
Timberland.
So we have some mics out here, and be careful what you ask, because you will get a direct answer. But, right behind me. There we go. Okay. So it can be an unidentified questioner.
Oh.
It's for the pretty one, right?
How are you funded?
By you.
This is why they're here.
Excellent question. Single file, line up right here. How did you fund the stuff that you shot? Beg, borrowed, and stole.
And yes, and honestly, the way I had set it up is at the end of each episode that we had shot, we were paying homage and thanks to the person who paid for it. So we would say this episode's sponsored by.
Right.
And people would see it. Monica Potter, actually, that's how she paid for one of the episodes, because she saw and she said, wow, well, how much is an episode? And I went, well, and she said, okay, I want to sponsor one.
Yeah.
So it was really, I have to say, like, even being here, I feel so incredibly lucky. I think I'm speaking for all of us. We feel really grateful and lucky because this has just been something we've loved, and amazing people like him, and I would say that even if he weren't here, have organically just kind of jumped on board, and Jane Lynch and Lisa Kudrow and these people that I have really respected for so many years. We've been really fortunate that people have just hopped on the train.
Yeah, I think obviously things have changed in that, over the last 4 years, there's definitely more content online, there's more competition, there are more people vying for the same dollars to be able to fund these things, but even Web Therapy, our first 4 seasons online were played on the El Studio Lexus-owned broadband site, and we were funded by them. And now we're no longer funded by Lexus, and we are allowed to be independent, and we are funded by integrations and license fees for other platforms, and we're always open to brands, as is a project like Dropping the Soap, to find the right partnership and the right platform.
That answered your question, right? So it was privately funded. It was individual funds per episode, and we literally would not shoot, and then someone would give me a check, and I'd go, okay, let's write one. Let's go. So,
Paul is very persuasive.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Clearly.
So maybe one last question. Just as creative people, and growing up, going into school, studying your craft, what is it that you enjoy most about this particular format? The short form format, perhaps. What's the challenge? What do you guys enjoy most about what you're doing now in terms of the short form, let's say, content acting, you know, from a creative standpoint?
I mean, as an actor, I'm just an actor, not a writer, and you know, I don't have to sit and wait by the phone for someone to call me and offer me a job. I can create a role that I want to do and go as a producer, and I can go to the writer and say, no, I don't want to say that, or I want to do this, and it's like incredible. I don't, you know, I can do whatever I want, and then I say to the industry, this is who I am.
Slow down.
I can do anything I want. Mark my words.
What I deal with?
Remember this.
Deal with? The ego. The ego. Think about that.
I'm basically
Go
my
stand in the
character.
corner.
Yeah. Okay.
For me,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Because for me, I think it's the flexibility, like getting to work with people you really love, and then, like Paul said, you know, we're like, okay, let's do an episode. Hey, guess what? We're going to do 2. Hey, we're going to do a couple more. How long is our season going to be? So we literally would like write something that like could be a season finale, and then we would get money for another episode and get to keep the stories going. So, like having that flexibility of just, you know, flying by the seat of your pants and it being so exciting of what's coming next, and then getting to fall in love with these characters every time, you know, really just having it having it be kind of a never-ending process is so, it's just organic and really, really fun.
Well, and it still feels like it's defining itself, I think.
Yeah.
You know, there's still so many opportunities, you know, at hand, but there's so many that we don't even know about. Even this, you know, CAA gets on board and we're meeting lots of wonderful people, and that's exciting for us because we just want to do the work and, you know.
I think it's about creating also. It's like about creative freedom. Because so much of being an actor, I'm a multi-hyphenate. I've always been a writer as well as an actor and a producer. But so much of what you do defines you, and people then pigeonhole you in that role. And you're often, most of the time, at the hands of somebody else who can or can't employ you or let you play or let you do something really creative. And I think one of the reasons I collaborated with Lisa Kudrow as opposed to, let's say, a business executive when I first started the company was because we were both creatives. We were both actors, we were both writers, and we found the notion of collaborating really fun and freeing. And I think the web still, even now, even when there's a lot of corporate, you know, there's a corporate culture in a lot of the platforms, there's still an opportunity that feels like the wild, wild web. And I think that's, we had a special guest who was literally, is she coming?
Well, no, it's funny. Did you see on your little, there's a special guest outline? That was supposed to be Jane Lynch, but she is, did you boo us?
Oh.
Do it, no, just kidding. So she couldn't make it because she has to work for Glee. So she's working late, but she actually, when we sat down, my phone rang.
Oh, she
and
said
I had made a joke, and I said, I'm so sorry you can't make it. I sent a text. I said, well, I'll miss you. I get it. Call and leave a message wishing everyone well. And she called when we started, so I have not heard it. But
play it.
Yeah, play it.
Should I play?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess
I thought she was going to call me.
I am not going to guarantee. What's my code?
Uh-oh.
What's my code?
This is live TV, all right?
Yeah.
Now, I do not know if she's going to swear. Okay.
You want to just hold up your thing?
Should I? What do I do?
You can't. Let's hope it's not profane. It's not us. There's no reflection on us if it is.
And I'm going to play you a voicemail from my realtor real quick.
Oh my God, I'm nervous.
Is she gone? All right, go ahead.
Okay, wait.
Well, hello everybody. This is Jane Lynch calling you from the set of Glee where I am stuck tonight shooting. And it also reminds me how desperate I am to work with adults, especially these adults in dropping the soap. Adults who act like children. I hope you'll be inspired and excited by the presentation tonight. This has really been a labor of love. These are some of the most wonderful people I've ever worked with in my life, and we've put our heart and our soul into this, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll be inspired to spend some money, and so enjoy, and I hope you enjoy my fellows, my cohorts as much as I do. I love them all, and I wish I could be there with you to help sell this thing. All right, have fun. Bye.
That was nice.
I have to wipe my tear. That was very sweet.
Wow.
That's an unsolicited.
Wow.
All right, how about a nice
So
round?
let's give a round of applause for our great panel tonight, Dan and the cast of Dropping the Soap.